Tired of the endless parade of here are the 5 best books on this topic, or this famous person swears by these 20 books you absolutely must read? Let's be honest, another list of must reads is probably just going to collect dust on your desk while you scroll social media under the guise of productivity. That's where this episode comes in. I'm not here to hand you another title to feel guilty about not reading. I'm here to unpack the practical insights from another game changing book that can transform the way you think, lead, and grow. Today, we're diving into Nir Eyal's book, Hooked: How to Build Habit-Forming Products. Eyal breaks down the hook model into a 4-step process: the trigger, action, variable reward, and investment phases that companies can use to keep us engaged or even addicted. So, whether you're a business leader looking to create more engaging products or just someone who wants to understand why you can't put that phone down, this book offers eye opening insights into how habits are formed and how to break free from the ones that don't serve you. So, let's skip the fluff, dig into the gold, and put these insights to work. Ready? Let's get hooked. Welcome to the Good Leadership Podcast, where we explore the stories, strategies, and insights of thought leaders who inspire us to think differently and lead better. Through candid conversations and expert perspectives, we dive into the challenges, breakthroughs, and practical lessons that shape exceptional leadership. What benefits do habits have for individuals and companies? Well, there's 4 primary benefits that Nir talks about. First is habits increase customer lifetime value. Companies love habits because they turn customers into long-term revenue streams. The fancier term, customer lifetime value. That's corporate speak for how much money can we squeeze out of you before you wise up and leave us. Think about your go-to coffee shop. You used to explore new places, try different beans, live a little. Now, you're in a committed relationship with a venti vanilla oat milk latte that costs more than your first car payment. That's exactly what companies want: loyalty through routine. The second benefit is habits provide pricing flexibility. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha himself, once said, "You can tell how strong a business is by how much agony it goes through when they raise prices." And let's be real, some companies have zero agony. Why? Because habits make customers numb to price hikes. By the time you notice a price jump, you've already built a habit. You need that service. You depend on that software, or you live for that overpriced gym membership that you definitely want to use more than twice this coming year. The third benefit: habits supercharge growth by increasing word of mouth. Now, if your company really nails it in the habit game, then you don't even need to spend money on marketing because the people, the customers, will do it for them. You know how it goes. You download an app, you get completely hooked, and before you know it, you're telling everyone, "Oh my gosh, you got to try this. It changed my life." Meanwhile, the company is sitting back watching their user count explode while paying zero for customer acquisition. And the fourth benefit is habits form competitive moats by sharpening competitive edges. Have you ever tried switching from an iPhone to an Android or vice versa? You know the pain. Your brain is wired for the old system and suddenly nothing makes sense. That's once again the power of habit. Companies that integrate themselves into your routine create a moat, which is a fancy term for we've made it so annoying for you to switch, you're not even going to try. Now, unfortunately, the habits that you picked up most recently are the first ones that are likely to fade. It is the old habits that pose the real challenge. Research shows that they're incredibly hard to shake. Even if you can change your routines, those old neural pathways stick around, just waiting to jump back into action the moment you lose focus. So in order to make new habits stick, understanding a product's habit-forming potential comes down to 2 things: frequency, which is how often users engage, and perceived utility, how rewarding and useful they find it compared to alternatives. When a behavior scores high on both, it can enter what he calls the habit zone. That's where your product becomes their go-to default choice for their users. Ever find yourself checking an app without even thinking about it? One moment you're unlocking your phone, and before you know it, you're scrolling, tapping, liking, and watching without any conscious decision to do so. It all starts with that trigger, that spark that sets the habit in motion. And there are 2 forms of triggers: external triggers, like a notification, an email, or a friend's recommendation, nudge you toward action, while internal triggers, like boredom, loneliness, or the fear of missing out, pull you back again and again. Companies that master triggers don't just create users, they create habits. So, to get you through the door, businesses rely on four types of external triggers. The first one are paid triggers. Ads, sponsored content, search engine placements are all designed to get you to act. But companies know they can't pay forever. Paid triggers are a way to acquire users, not keep them. The real magic comes when other triggers take over. So, the next type of external trigger are those earned triggers. When the internet talks about it, you've probably seen those apps explode overnight after being featured in a viral article, trending on TikTok, or on the top of the App Store. These earn triggers, PR mentions, influencer shoutouts, and organic buzz are like rocket fuel for growth. The catch is, unfortunately, they too do not last. A company must stay in the conversation or risk fading into obscurity. The next type of external trigger are those relationship ones that friends don't let other friends miss out on. Ever installed an app just because a friend sent you an invite? That's a relationship trigger in action. Referrals, social shares, and word of mouth are powerful motivators because when people we trust endorse them, we listen. But the ultimate type of external trigger is really those owned triggers, those silent reminders in your life. Because once you install an app, the game changes. Now the company has a piece of real estate in your daily life. App icons on your home screen, email newsletters, or push notifications calling you back. Own triggers are different from paid, earned, and relationship triggers because they just don't bring you in once, they bring you back again and again until the app becomes second nature. But here's the real goal: once the habit is formed, external triggers become unnecessary. That's where internal triggers take over. Because over time, we stop needing those nudges from the outside because the behavior now is driven from within. And the best habit forming products tap into emotions, routines, and desires, making us return without a second thought. If you're feeling lonely, you check Facebook. Bored? Open YouTube or TikTok. Need validation? Refresh Instagram. Fear of missing out? Scroll through all those notifications. Negative emotions, in particular, are powerful internal triggers. We don't just use these apps for fun, we use them to escape discomfort. So, for the trigger phase, remember, triggers start the habit loop. A habit begins with a trigger that prompts action. No trigger, no behavior. External triggers spark engagement. Ads, notifications, and word of mouth nudge users to act, guiding them toward a product. But not all triggers are equal. Paid triggers drive awareness, but relationship and owned triggers sustain long term engagement. And internal triggers are the ultimate goal because over time, users return not because of notifications, but due to emotions like boredom or FOMO. Let's move to the next phase of the hooked cycle, and that's the action phase. Imagine you're in a waiting room, mindlessly scrolling through your phone. Without thinking, you open Instagram. You don't just decide to do it, it just happens. Or picture this: you're sitting at home, bored, and suddenly find yourself on YouTube, watching videos you never planned for. You didn't consciously choose to take action, your behavior was automatic. That's because the world's most habit forming products master this phase, the action phase of the cycle. Most companies make the mistake of trying to increase motivation, offering discounts, rewards, or emotional appeals. But the smarter and easier approach is to reduce the effort required. Netflix removed the need to choose by autoplaying the next episode. Pinterest makes discovery effortless. Just scroll and the content appears. Amazon turned checkouts into a single click process, eliminating friction. The most habit forming products don't just capture attention, they remove all obstacles to action. So, for the action phase, remember, simplicity drives action. The easier the behavior, the more likely the users are to do it. Reducing effort beats increasing motivation every time. Friction kills engagement. Users abandon actions that feel time consuming, confusing, or exhausting. Removing obstacles is more effective than trying to persuade users. And finally, successful products, remember, they minimize effort. Companies like Uber, YouTube, Netflix thrive on making actions instinctive. One tap, one scroll, one click. Because the best products require no learning curve and feel intuitive. Users don't need convincing, they just keep coming back. The next phase in the hooked cycle is the reward phase. Have you ever scrolled through Instagram just for a minute, only to look up later wondering what happened, or pulled the lever on a slot machine, hoping for something exciting, even though you know it's probably just a spam? Congratulations, you've just been played by variable rewards, the hidden force behind your digital habits. This is the third step in the hooked model, where products keep us coming back not just because they solve a problem, but because they do so in an unpredictable way. Our brains love the thrill of the unknown, and companies have figured this out and how to use it against us. Your brains crave novelty. When we can predict exactly what's going on, we tune it out. But when there's an element of surprise, when we don't know exactly what's coming next, we pay closer attention. Scientists actually tested this on pigeons, because apparently pigeons and humans aren't all that different after all when it comes to habits. They gave birds a button that sometimes dispensed food and sometimes it didn't. If the food came on a fixed schedule, the pigeons pecked on the button occasionally. But when the food came at random times, the pigeons went crazy, pecking obsessively in hopes of a reward. So, not all surprises are created equal, and different products tap into different psychological cravings. But the most habit forming ones mix and match them to keep you engaged. So, let's talk about three different types of variable rewards. First, the rewards of the tribe, social validation that keeps coming up. Have you ever posted a photo and then checked back every 5 minutes to see if anyone liked it? We're wired to seek social validation. We want to feel included, appreciated, and let's be honest, a little admired as well. This is why social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok thrive. Every time you post something, you roll the dice. Will people like it? The mystery is what makes it so compelling. If the news feed always showed up at the same time in the same way, you'd stop checking. The second reward is the rewards of the hunt, that search for the next big win. Have you ever gone down a Wikipedia rabbit hole, starting with the history of the Roman Empire and somehow ending up in conspiracy theories about Avril Lavigne? Unfortunately, I have. That's the rewards of the hunt. The thrill of searching for something valuable, whether it's information, money, or resources. Slot machines operate on this principle. Gamblers know they probably won't win, but the chance of hitting the jackpot keeps them coming back. The final reward is the rewards of the self, the satisfaction of mastery and progress. And unlike social rewards or hunt based rewards, these rewards are all about personal achievement. Video games do this brilliantly. You don't win any money or social status from beating another level of Angry Birds, but that doesn't stop millions of people from playing it. Why? Because we love feeling progress. We need to feel like we're getting better. And when a product taps into that, it's hard to stop. So, what are the key takeaways from this phase? One, uncertainty fuels engagement. The excitement isn't in the reward itself, but the anticipation of it. When outcomes are unpredictable, users stay focused and engaged, continually seeking the next reward. There are different types of variable rewards that we went over: rewards of the tribe, the hunt, and the self. Also, habits form when the brain expects the next reward. Our minds are wired to seek out patterns of reward, making us crave the next unpredictable payoff. And finally, the best products always keep users wanting more. You've seen this play out before. You tell yourself you're just going to try out LinkedIn, maybe fill out a little bit of your profile. The next thing you know, you're uploading a professional headshot, crafting a bio, and obsessively tracking profile views like a Wall Street broker watching stock prices. Or maybe you've downloaded Spotify for one playlist. But now, after carefully curating dozens of perfectly themed mixes, you couldn't possibly switch to another platform. Why? Because you've invested time or effort into this. And that's exactly why the investment phase of the hook cycle is the final step. The moment when users don't just use a product, they commit to it. So the investment phase doesn't just make users value a product more, it also increases the likelihood they're going to come back. This cycle happens everywhere. Instagram, every post you share loads a trigger. Will you like it? Who will comment? Tinder, every right swipe loads a trigger. Will they match? Will they message me first? Who will engage? Users aren't just interacting, they're investing in the next reason to return. So unlike physical products that depreciate over time, habit-forming technologies do just the opposite. They get better the more they're used. Once again, take Spotify. When you first sign up, the app doesn't know your music taste, but the more you listen, the better it gets at recommending exactly what you want. Your investment, liking songs, making playlists, and following artists make the service uniquely yours. So, this concept of stored value plays out in several ways. First, content. The more you build, the more you stay. Whether it's saved playlists on Spotify, uploaded photos on Instagram, or starred recipes on a cooking app, the more personal content you store, the harder it is to leave. Data. Personalized services improve over time. Netflix knows what shows you love. Google knows what you search for. Duolingo tracks your progress. The more data you feed into these systems, the better they work for you. Followers. Social investment keeps you hooked. On platforms like Instagram or Twitter, every follower increases the social value of your profile. If you spent years building an audience, the cost of abandoning it is enormous. Next, reputation. Your status locks you in. Ever notice how top-rated Airbnb hosts or eBay sellers rarely switch platforms? That's because their high ratings and the reviews are assets to them. Reputation isn't transferable. If you leave it, you lose it. How about reminders? They're triggers that keep you coming back. Apps like Anydo ask users to set reminders for themselves, ensuring they'll return. Once a user actively commits to a future action, they're much more likely to follow through. Take skill. The more you learn, the more you're going to commit, right? Ever try switching from Photoshop to another design tool or from Excel to a new spreadsheet software? Learning is a tool that takes effort. And once you're skilled, you don't want to start over. That's why experienced users stick with complex software, even if something easier comes along. Thank you, Canva. Finally, why does investment come after the variable rewards? Well, here's the trick. If companies ask for the investment too soon, users won't do it. First, they must hook you with variable rewards. This is why you don't start following people on Instagram until you've seen posts you like. Once users are emotionally engaged, they're far more likely to invest. And once they invest, the habit solidifies. So now that you have the 4-step cycle, trigger, action, variable reward, and investment, the question is, how are you going to use it? Will you apply it to build better products? Will you use it to resist the pull of habit-forming technology? Until next time, stay mindful, stay in control, and don't get hooked on the wrong things. I hope this episode has provided you with valuable insights. If it has, I ask you to share it with someone who would also benefit from it. If you've been enjoying and gaining knowledge from this podcast, then subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can find all the previous episodes of the podcast and additional learning resources. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify and leave up to a 5-star review.